Hey everybody, Ryan Neff here, the line of scrimmage. Haven't seen anybody for a while here. College football. Uh, yeah, regular season's now over. It's depressing as a college football fan, but one season ends, another begins with the college football playoff. The latest rankings did come out. I'll get to that later. So I'm just going to delve into it here. Week number 12. Uh, some of the games that were of importance, obviously, it was rivalry weekend. Uh, Oregon State was not a competitive game at all. I thought it would be. I thought Oregon State would be up for it, but then, we find out that Jonathan Smith was coaching his last game, as unbeknownst to his players probably, but they just didn't look into the game. Bo Nix did his thing. The defense did their thing. DJ Uiagalelei had a really, really, I would say, mediocre season there. Um, They couldn't run the football. They couldn't really do anything offensively. Bo Nix, 33 of 40 for 367 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Running game was, less than stellar, but, now Oregon goes into the Pac-0 championship, because I call it the Pac-0 now, even though there's really technically still two teams in the conference. But they will be playing Washington. I think it's on Friday. Yeah, it's Friday night. So they will be playing Washington for the Pac-12 championship. And, the winner of that game is probably going to make the college football playoff. So, whether Washington wins and remains undefeated, or Oregon comes back and gets revenge on them for the earlier loss to them earlier in the season, it's going to be a hell of a game. Both offenses potent. Both defenses are mirror images of one another. So, so the Oregon State game was of some significance. Going through the rest of the top 25 schedule, Iowa with a barn burner over Nebraska, 13-10. No offense. Iowa's they made the Big Ten championship, but I mean, let's be real. Their offense, they can't generate any sort of offense. Struggle with Nebraska. I know it was a road game, but still, all in all, do I really think Iowa's going to beat Michigan in the Big Ten championship game? Probably not. The defense is stellar. The defense is college football playoff caliber, but their offense is just abysmal. So they'll probably get blown out. Then Michigan, Ohio State. We all know what happened there. Michigan with the third straight win over their rivals. Ohio State looked to get back into the game, but unfortunately, what I said that was the key to the game was Kyle McCord, the quarterback for Ohio State. He threw two costly picks that didn't help. He was missing checkdowns. He just couldn't seem to find like a rhythm throughout the game. J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, kind of pedestrian, 16-20, 148 yards, a touchdown. But, the running game, 39 rushes for 156 yards. And normally in this particular matchup, whoever wins the rushing title normally wins the football game. So now it'll be Michigan against Iowa in the Big 12 championship, or the Big 10 championship. So, I don't see Iowa coming with a. If Iowa wins, it's really going to throw a cog in the college football playoffs committees. They're hoping for an easy weekend this upcoming weekend. But if Iowa beats Michigan, then all hell is going to break loose. Washington State, the Apple Cup. Washington had to hold on. When these two teams get together with the records, it doesn't matter. You can throw those out the window. Both teams, Michael Penix Jr., so. They ran the ball okay, but it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I thought Washington State was going to wind up winning the football game, but, Washington drove down the field, get them in field goal position late in the game, and they win by a field goal. So tough, hard victory against your rival in the Apple Cup. Got to talk Alabama, Auburn. I mean, oh my God. oh my God. Just when you think Auburn was going to knock Alabama off, give them 2 losses, knock them out of the college football playoff. If Alabama would have finished the season 10-2, even if they beat Georgia in the SEC title game, I don't think they're making the college football playoff with 2 losses. I really don't. So Auburn had that game won, and all you have to do is not let them score a touchdown. Just don't let them score a touchdown. And unfortunately, I don't know what kind of defense Auburn was in. I don't know what the defensive back was thinking, but Alabama comes away with the victory and keeps their college football playoff hopes alive because they will now play Georgia in the SEC title game, and everybody's picking Georgia to win. But if Alabama wins this game, they have a case to make the playoff, especially if other things go a certain way. The only other kind of matchups I saw that were, you had Kansas State in a snowstorm hosting Iowa State. Iowa State wins the game 42-35. Kansas State just, after winning the Big 12 championship last year, they finished 8-4. I think they had bigger hopes this year. Rocco Becht for Iowa State. He was 8-12 for 230 yards, but he had 3 touchdown passes, no picks. Iowa State ran the ball 23 times for 258 yards. Of course, Will Howard, now moving on from Kansas State, 24 of 48 for 288 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick to close out his career there. I mean, God, they ran the ball 54 times for 209 yards. So anybody who was tuned into this or flipping back and forth, listen to this stat. Iowa State had 10 first downs. Kansas State had 32. So you look at that, and you would think that Kansas State blew this game out of the water, but they didn't. It was just one of those games, like I said, in a snowstorm. So Kansas State gets knocked off. So in the Big 12 championship game, it's going to be Texas against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's a big favorite. I really don't see Oklahoma State having a chance. Again, when the rankings came out today, I'll get to them in a second. College Football Playoff Committee did them no favors, like none. If Texas goes on and beats Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship, then the College Football Playoff, depending how other things fall, they're going to have a big decision to make. Because if Texas, they beat Alabama. Now, let's say Texas wins the Big 12 championship and Alabama wins the SEC championship. Well, Texas beat Alabama early in the year. So what do? Then they're going to have to go by resume. So again, it's going to be really, really interesting to see where the committee places everybody next week. Because if certain things fall a certain way, and the College Football Playoff Committee is going to have a tough decision to make. So Week 12 was in the books. It's going to be a sort of a quick version of the line of scrimmage this week because, again, we're down to the nitty-gritty now. We're down to the fourth quarter. Championship games this week. You have the Conference USA Championship pitting undefeated Liberty, ranked 24th in the country, against New Mexico State, 10-3. Liberty's just had one of those special seasons, undefeated. New Mexico State, again, nobody, I think, saw that coming out of New Mexico State. They're 10-3, but Liberty's on a roll right now. It's a train. The train will continue to roll. I think Liberty is favored by 10, which they are. I think just Liberty will steamroll this game. They just look fantastic all year long. So I'm taking Liberty big over New Mexico State. Also on Friday, you have the Pac-12 championship. Oregon against Washington. It was a barn burner the last time these two teams played. Of course, Washington coming out on top. I think it goes the other way this time. I know Washington has had a special season. They're undefeated. They passed every test. Oregon, since that Washington loss, has been blowing people out. You're going to have Penix again. Penix Jr. against Bo Nix. I just think, and Oregon's favored by 9.5. So somebody in Vegas knows something. and they're not really buying Washington because of the way they've looked like the last month. They've eked out some victories that they probably should have lost. I just think Oregon will be up for the game. I'm not saying Washington won't be. I just think whatever's laid out in front of Oregon now, they know what they have to do. They lose this game, they're not in the college football playoff. Washington, maybe if they lose, can sneak into the college football playoff. Again, have to wait and see. But I'm taking Oregon to beat Oregon to beat Washington in another classic. Then we move on to Saturday. Big 12 championship, Texas against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State started off the year kind of dragging their feet. Then they won 4 or 5 in a row. And there's been some games here in the last month, though, that they probably should have lost, but they had a gut check. They came back and won. Texas favorite by 14.5. Texas has to win this game, and they have to win it convincingly. Style points now matter more than ever. So Texas needs to beat the hell out of Oklahoma State. And I think they do it. I don't think Oklahoma State stands a chance. I'm sure Mike Gundy in Oklahoma will use that as a rallying cry, but Texas knows what they have to do. Win this with style points and hope other things fall into place where they might sneak up into the college football playoff. But you have to win this football game. One loss Big 12, one loss Big 12 championship or Big 12 champion might go a long way in deciding who gets into the college football playoff. Then we come to the SEC championship. Georgia against Alabama. We know the history since Kirby Smart has been at Georgia with Alabama. Two-time defending national championship, new big boy on the block. Alabama's sort of been relegated to little brother here the last couple years. But ever since, they lost to Texas, Alabama did, and then they struggled against, I think it was South Florida. South Florida probably should have beaten them. And Alabama has sort of been either blowing somebody out or it's a really close game. Georgia's favored by 6. I think this will be a highly competitive game, but I just think Georgia wins the football game. I think Alabama's going to give them a real hard tussle, but Georgia knows what they have to do. And again, if Georgia loses, Alabama wins, slight chance maybe Georgia sneaks in there if all things fall the right way. I don't know, though. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I'm picking Georgia in a close game. We get to the American Athletic Conference. We have SMU against number 22 Tulane. Both teams with fantastic seasons. You sort of maybe figured Tulane was going to have another great year because they basically returned the nucleus of what they had last year on that fantastic season last year where they beat USC in the bowl game. SMU, fantastic season. I didn't see that coming out of them this year. But, again, they're in the American Athletic Championship. This is going to be another barn burner. So I think it's going to be an up and down kind of game. Both defenses are sort of iffy. You wouldn't know it by their records, but I think Tulane will probably eke this one out in the end. Get to the Big Ten Championship. That's at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Michigan against Iowa. Michigan's favored by friggin' 23. That's just basically because of the fact Iowa cannot score. They have no offense. They rely on their defense. And I'm not saying the defense won't keep them in the game for a little while, but if they can't score points and Michigan's defense is just as good, I don't see it. Do I think that Michigan's going to cover the 23? No. Do I think Iowa will probably shut them down to a point? Yes. But I can see this game being, 28-10, 30 to maybe 13, somewhere in there. I just think Michigan is a team of destiny. And if they go on to win a title anyway, with the investigation on Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan program and Connor Stallions, months from now, if they win the national title, months from now, they might get everything rescinded. So who knows? And then ACC championship, my boy Ronnie Dent, Louisville against Florida State. Again, Florida State only favored by 2.5, but that's because Florida State lost their quarterback Jordan Travis. Obviously, his career there is done. I hope he gets well. I hope he gets better. I hope the rehab process goes well. Louisville lost last week to Kentucky. It's a rivalry game. Uh, I don't know. Kind of dicey. Florida State only favored by 2.5. Louisville has the team intact. Florida has a fantastic defense. Uh, they look a little bit differently, obviously, without Jordan Travis as a quarterback. So this will be my cog in the wheel. I'm going to go with my man RG, his Louisville Cardinal, and I think they pull off the upset and beat Florida State. I just think that losing Jordan Travis is just too big. I know they got by with beating Florida, but let's be honest, my Florida Gators suck out loud, and they were undisciplined in that game, and Florida State just they did enough to win the football game. So those are my picks there. Now we're gonna go to the. I just saw the college football playoff rankings come out a couple of minutes ago, so we'll jump to that. So Georgia remained number 1. Michigan is 2. Washington is 3. And per Ohio State losing, Florida State jumped back into number 4. There is all kinds of things this week. There's all kinds of scenarios that could happen. Alabama could beat Georgia. Iowa could beat Michigan. Oregon could beat Washington. Louisville could beat Florida State. There's just all kinds of things that could happen with these conference championship games. Now, probably what the College Football Playoff Committee is hoping for is that Georgia beats Alabama, Michigan beats Iowa, so there's your 2. And then you get to Washington and Florida State. If Oregon beats Washington, they're probably in. And then you get to, let's say Texas does beat Oklahoma State and they hammer them. Right now, Ohio State is ranked ahead of Texas with just 1 loss. So the committee is basically saying they kind of believe in Texas, but they really don't know what to make of them. And if Texas goes on and wins and other things fall into place, let's just say Georgia, Michigan, and Washington all win. Let's say Florida loses or Florida State loses. Do you take Oregon? No, because they'll have 2 losses. Would you take Florida State anyway because they'd be 12-1? I don't know. Would Ohio State bump up in there? Probably not. If Texas, as the Big 12 champion, wins and Georgia, Michigan, Washington all win, I don't see how you could keep Texas out of the 4th spot. But again, all kinds of stuff could happen. But I guarantee you the committee is hoping Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State all win. Then it's set. There's no questions asked. But nothing's guaranteed this weekend because anything can happen because they're championship games. I don't know what's going to happen. My guess is Georgia wins. Michigan wins. Like I said, I think Oregon beats Washington, which means Oregon would be in the college football playoff. I think Louisville takes out Florida State, minus Jordan Travis. And if Texas wins and beats Oklahoma State, I just don't see how the College Football Playoff Committee can keep them out and maybe bump Ohio State up to – it's not going to happen. There's just no way. Conference champion, no way. But again, a lot of stuff can happen. Like I said, abbreviated version again tonight because I said we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Just some news and notes. You have Bobby Petrino agrees to be the next Arkansas offensive coordinator. We all know the history of Bobby Petrino. I don't need to go through it. I mean, the man is he's done some stupid stuff, really stupid stuff. And I don't know how he continues to coach with his track record, to be honest with you. But I mean, that's just the way of college football. Transfer portal has been buzzing. Everybody is entering the transfer portal. It's like a mass exodus from everywhere. Virginia's Jones leaves rehab after spinal cord surgery. That was a scary injury that he had. I hope he's going to be okay. Prayers up to his family, his friends. And I did see something. I guess the Washington Supreme Court upheld a stay um, in reference to the Pac-12. The teams that are like leaving, I mean, Washington State and Oregon State, there was a lower court ruling stating that, they would be in control of the Pac-12 going forward, leaving all the revenue up in the air on what to do with it. The teams that are leaving the Pac-12 said, nope, we should still get a share and a cut of all that. So the Washington Supreme Court has upheld the temporary restraining order. This is only going to get messier and messier and messier as the months go on, because it's still in flux. We don't know what's going to happen with Washington State and Oregon State. They're talking with the Mountain West Conference. Well, do they join that conference and it's just going to be the Mountain West with those two in it? Or are they going to say, no, why don't the Mountain West teams, come over here to the Pac-12 so we can keep the Pac-12 intact, and we'll just have all the Mountain West teams come over, and basically the Mountain West Conference will either be defunct or they'll start looking for other teams. Did see where the Delaware Blue Huns are now jumping up from SCS into FBS. So that was like huge news as far as I was concerned. We'll see how they make the transition. There's all kinds of coaching. We always, Elko goes from Duke to Texas A&M. I don't understand the hire. I really don't. I thought they should have gone after a big name, but he was there as a coordinator at one point, so he knows the culture a little bit. He knows what it takes. He knows people there. So we'll see what happens with that. Not even going to get into the bowl projections because it's asinine and it's stupid, and there's too many of them anyway. There's 43 bowl games, for Christ's sake. That means 86 teams make bowl games. And how many FBS teams there are? Like 138. So 2/3 of college football teams make bowl games with 6-6 records. I've even seen 5-7 because they just need to fill out the bowl game, which is asinine. So everybody grab your popcorn, grab your alcohol, grab your tea, your coffee, and whatnot, and hold on to your seats this weekend because it's going to get interesting. Starting on Friday with the Pac-12 championship. So, Angel, if you want to take me out, and I will see everybody next Tuesday at around this time.